Welcome to Roll Coverage. I am your host, Nick McCandless. For today, we're getting into the injury news. There's a lot of them, especially after that shellacking last night on Thursday Night Football. We got Bryce Young out. We got Anthony Richardson out. Diggs is done for the season. And it's only week 3. It's going to be a crazy year, guys. We're going to get into it. Let's roll the intro.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Welcome back to Roll Coverage. We're going to get straight into it. I'm going to start talking about this outpouring of injuries. So, if you haven't heard, which if you're a Cowboys fan, I'm sorry for me to be the one to break this news to you, but Diggs is now out the season after tearing his ACL, I believe. Yep, suffers torn ACL. Rodgers out. Richardson's in concussion protocol still, not as, connected. There's so much as of late. Just running backs. Eckler's out this week. My Panthers, we just lost Bryce Young. We lost our great quarterback to apparently an ankle injury, but then I also saw a conflicting report stating it was a knee. If it's a knee, then oh geez, here we go. Yeah, we're going to get to him specifically. I'm going to go into my Panthers at one point. But I don't understand what the NFL is doing. It's hurting the brand, to be honest. Obviously, injuries are something that's always going to be a part of the game, but it's less and less a part of the game and now just a likelihood. There's so many players that just themselves are injury prone, but these season-ending injuries to star players is going to hurt the value of the teams. The Cowboys, in my opinion, it was basically going to be the Cowboys or the 49ers were going to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, they got to kind of go through each other first, but I just thought that even on the other side, the Bills, KC, Bengals, they're all really flawed, and those two teams are really ready to go, and Diggs was a huge part of that. Being able to take away a wide receiver one is absolutely crucial, and his takeaways are just skyrocketing. Like, he's one of those, God, what was it? Risk it to get the biscuit or something like that. Yeah, he was one of those. I loved it. Rodgers' injury obviously destroys the Jets. And I think there's a great storyline with that regarding the Vikings-Chargers games that I'm going to get into here in a minute when we talk about the games. But I think that this injury thing is indicative of the new game. A recent thing was I was watching Cowherd, I believe it was for week 1, right after week 1, where he said 10 of 13 offensive coaches won week 1 or whatever it was. And he's like, oh yeah, offensive coaches are the way to go. And I think it's just schemed up that way. And I don't think the defense is ever going to be able to keep up. You're seeing these teams with these high-powered offenses like the KC last year, where you can sacrifice a little bit on the defensive side and still be able to win. It reminds me of the Texas Tech offense where it's there's literally no defense. So obviously that's not the case with the Chiefs. I'm not making that comparison to any NFL team right now, but I just think it's a really interesting thing that it's leaning so hard to one side, obviously the offense. Obviously putting points up on the board is the easiest, but the defense does win championships in most cases. I don't know. It's a weird thing. We're truly in a weird time of football. So we went from the older, the dawn of football where it was really a really big emphasis on the run game. You're seeing more teams go into that college style where you're really going 4 wide, 5 wide, and really hucking the ball downfield. You're going for 500 yards a game, the Patrick Mahomes college numbers. But we're seeing teams, specifically the Steelers, the Niners are the number one example. The Cowboys are another great one, where you're able to really run the ball, really have a great defense, and not necessarily truly go psychotic in the passing game. The other side of that would obviously be Miami Dolphins is the one that comes to mind. Minnesota, in my mind, even with the acquisition of Cam Akers from the Rams, I don't think that they're a running team or should really focus more on that. I would go like 60 or 70% passing as opposed to running, unless you get up and then obviously drain the clock out and get out of there with a win. But you got two amazing ones out there in Addison and Jefferson. So it's just, I don't know. I've always said it in basketball. I'm personally a big basketball guy. That as the game moves in one direction, it will eventually rubber band back. And I think that's what we're seeing in the NFL. We're seeing these teams like the Steelers. To be honest, I thought the Packers would be running Jones and Dillon much more and really draining that clock down. Baltimore, where they would absolutely run the shit out of the ball. The Falcons with Algier and Bijan Robinson. I mean, these are the teams that are winning right now because they're playing defense. Maybe not well, but they're able to, get some takeaways and get the opposing team off the field, and they're just going to run the ball because that's what's going to be able to drain the clock out, get them a few points, get them ahead, and then the other team really has to throw it to get back in. You're not going to be able to just run the whole time. And that's what I personally saw in San Francisco last night. And what I saw with San Francisco last night was a Super Bowl winning team. This is a team that can absolutely go the 100% way. And if they went undefeated, it wouldn't really surprise me. I'll get to their schedule. In fact, let me pull it up right now. I think next week they've got another cakewalk. Yeah, the Cardinals. So the only one I could really see them, because, again, I don't think the Bengals are for real. Jags didn't look good. Eagles are going to be a running team. Ravens. So if they can get through this Cowboys game with a dub, I could see them. Obviously, I think they're going to beat the Cardinals, beat the Cowboys. Then I could see them beating the Browns, the Vikings, the Bengals, because, again, Bengals are just reeling with Burrow out. They just added a third quarterback. Again, we'll get to that. But this 49ers team is nasty, just nasty. I mean, the only other one I would say would maybe be the Eagles or the Ravens game, but even then, attrition by then, the Eagles with this running offense, where is Jason Kelce going to be? He's already dealing with an injury from, previous years. So I'm obviously worried that he's not going to be able to finish his final season. And then obviously the Ravens on Christmas. I think that's going to be a crazy game, especially because that could be literally the Ravens, marching in there to a potentially lossless, completely undefeated 49ers team going into the last three games, being able to possibly go undefeated on the chance to run to the Super Bowl. Like there's always trap games every year, but they always, weird ones. But if they played like they did last night, they're going to shellac people. It's going to be bad. Like, it's going to be a bad time for teams in the NFL. And again, the Cowboys are going to be the barometer. If they roll the Cowboys, then the NFL is in a whole lot of trouble. It's going to be the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl or something like that. And even then, they don't stand a chance. I think the Niners destroy them. I'm foreseeing the future of the NFL, and that future is going to be 50 plus carries on an offense, and maybe 15, 20 throws. You don't need a crazy quarterback to do that. You don't need anything too crazy. If you need him to really start throwing the ball, then obviously he can do it. But I think we're going to eventually see the shift backwards, back to the run game, back to investing more on the defense, and really not paying those high-end wide receivers. Specifically, Justin Jefferson was apparently rumored to get a quote-unquote quarterback-like contract. I don't think any receiver is worth a quarterback contract, period. Especially now that you have Jordan Addison, I would ship Justin Jefferson out of there for a boatload of picks. Somebody would probably give it 3 or 2 first-round picks for him, and it'd be worth it. So another person I'm going to talk about with the injury was obviously the one glaring one last night, Saquon Barkley. Very happy for him to get his 1-year deal, get back with the Giants. I was really excited for this. His injury last night was a high ankle sprain, so obviously he's going to be nursing that for a little bit. Again, these injuries need to change, but again, I also think as the game moves back to the run as opposed to the pass, we will also obviously see more injuries, but we'll also see a lot of the skill guys kind of fade back down. More specifically, I think Tyreek Hill's trade value after this year, and then obviously next year is really going to be subpar. So I think they're going to be kind of stuck with him, and then they're all obviously going to have to pay Waddle. But regardless, these injuries are hurting the league. It's a plague on the league. Hurts ratings, hurts advertisers, hurts teams, fans, fantasy leagues again. But I'll never put players above or below fantasy leagues. Players are more important, and that's why I want their health to stay there. Obviously, we also saw the loss of Nick Chubb for the season. Rumors that he might come back by the playoffs, but again, I don't see this rushing. Same thing with the Jets. I think the Jets will be in a huge hole by the time Aaron Rodgers could potentially come back. So yeah, I think the NFL needs to institute a standard when it comes to grass. I think there needs to be a standard when it comes to fields. They're like measure everything. It really needs to be held to a high standard. These are multi-billion-dollar corporations, potentially messing with people's lives. We're obviously hopeful that Nick Chubb comes back healthier down the road. Obviously, when we saw it, we're like, he might not walk again, but it's all looking good for him so far. So obviously, get better, boss. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I think the game is moving in a very interesting place. I think that these games showed us that. The success of these teams that are winning, obviously there are some that are throwing the heck out of the ball, but they also have a very, very stout running in them. So I think that's going to play itself into a bigger conversation next year. And you're going to see a lot more players start to get the bag. Obviously, they're investing in young running backs right now, but that's always going to be a thing. They're going to try and burn them up while they're young, but I still think those high-end backs are going to get paid. But we're going to move on to the next one. I'm going to move on to the actual picks of the games, my thoughts, kind of where the teams are and everything. And yeah, we're going to get on out of here. See you in just a second. Back to real coverage. We're going to get right into it. This is going to be an easy one. Picks of the week. Let's get right to it. Okay. Should have them right here to my left. First one, Giants 49ers. With the loss of Saquon Barkley, the Giants look like a shell of themselves. They tried to establish a run game, and I think it worked decently well. But Daniel Jones shrunk in the moment and elevated Brock Purdy to a level that at this point seems mythical already, yet the man hasn't even gotten an entire season under his belt. Thumbnail, this is going to be why I actually wanted to start this video, and that is something that I heard this morning. I believe it was on ESPN, and ESPN provided all of these odds and everything as well. Bot Purdy, man. I can't blame you. The kid did amazing things in college, was very analytical, really measured, didn't go too crazy, and you're seeing that in this 49ers offense. You're seeing a kid that's going out there and just cerebral. He's looking at it, diagnosing it, immediately editing his offense to the Shanahan way, and just blowing teams out so far. Like I said previously, in my opinion, they are the most complete team. Offense, defense, and everything. Even in the quarterback, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, man, he's subpar, he's this, he's that. He's a really, really, really good quarterback, and he's executing the vision that Shanahan has set forth for this team. Now, obviously, their identity on the offense is Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, getting the ball out quick, letting guys make plays in space, and with Deebo, just drag people down the field. Defense, go get the quarterback. They really, really execute that well. They're really good on the tip pass, the little tip drill and everything. So I think this team can go very far. When it comes to the Giants, I think the Giants are in a real rough spot. I can see the Giants making a crazy trade like Daniel Jones to Minnesota for Kirk Cousins, and really seeing what this Giants team is all about. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be a big storyline, but we'll get to that game later. But this offense needs a spark at wide receiver, and you have it on your roster, yet you refuse to use it. Jalen Hyatt, dude. I've been saying it this whole time. I'm going to keep pounding the table for Jalen Hyatt. Dude is going to be your wide receiver 1 or 2 if you give him the opportunity. What did he do in the Cardinals game? Let me pull up the stats real quick. We're gonna immediately go pull the shit up. Oops, went the wrong way. Shout out Deion Sanders in Colorado. Been great living out here. Cardinals game. I'm gonna pull it up. Hopefully you guys can see it too. Daniel Jones, 2 for 89. Granted, those are his only 2 catches, but 89 yards is quite a bit on the Cardinals defense, which, again, not the best, but it's doing more than any of your other guys are doing. I think you really need to get him out there. I think he'd be a difference maker, especially in the passing game. Darren Waller looks like a shell of himself. I'm hoping he can rebound. I really believed in him this year, especially with Daniel Jones. I thought, hey, he's going to get in trouble and he's just going to dump it off to him. But instead, he's, running routes downfield. So I think that's going to change here soon. I think they need to rein him back in more of a tight end as opposed to a wide receiver type role. And I think that could work out well. I believe that young quarterbacks need a safety valve and a great tight end. It'd be great if Daniel Jones would treat him like a tight end instead of like a wide receiver. Regardless, betting-wise, I went big on the Niners. Won big. It was great. Could have won a bit more if Daniel Jones threw the ball downfield. I think I had him on a few at like 175 yards and like 199. Little crazy. But other than that, it was a great game. Very happy for Christian McCaffrey breaking tying Jerry Rice's 12-game touchdown record. I think he will surpass it, especially because they're playing the Cardinals next week. So expect him to break that record. But yeah, great job both teams. Again, let's see what the Giants do next week. Got shellacked this week. Sorry, guys. When it comes to the next one, Titans-Browns, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. I think that both running back rooms are obviously suffering. Browns considerably more because Nick Chubb is out the season, gruesome injury. I think it's really shell-shocked the team and could really affect them long-term. On the other side of the ball, the Titans don't have a quarterback. They have Tannehill, who's washed at this point. Not even as good as Kirk Cousins, and a lot of people think that Kirk Cousins is washed. Derrick Henry's questionable as of right now. He'll probably play from what I hear. And then Will Levis and Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis is the real deal, especially for that team this year. I would just give the reins over to him, trade Tannehill for whatever you could get to whoever he needs to go to, maybe even the Jets, and just see what you have in those two. This year, I do not think that you're a real playoff contender, so I just see what you can get. If you end up with a decent pick, it wouldn't be too bad. But if you end up figuring out your quarterback for the future, I think that's the better of the two options. Betting line right now is Cleveland given 3.5. I don't love that. I think it could go both ways. Over and under is also 39.5. I think they're going to have to kind of get the ball in the air to get this going. I'll probably take the over and avoid the Cleveland given 3.5 on this one. Obviously, if I can get points for Cleveland, I would take that in a heartbeat, but I'll take the over in this. I think that it's going to have to be. Otherwise, it's just going to be a, pick city, and nobody's able to accomplish anything on offense, which could also be the case. But yeah, I'll stick with that. I'll stick with my over 39.5. And then we're going to move on to the next one, where the over-under is 46. Falcons at Lions. Falcons are the antithesis of my thought when it comes to the changing of the running back position. I do not believe that high-end running backs are going to be devalued, especially with people like Derrick Henry, Chubb, Christian McCaffrey, guys like that, high-end backs that are really going to get paid. But they're running Bijan and Algier at the same time and close to the same carries, even though Algier is vulturing the crap out of Bijan. Desmond Ridder is not the quarterback you want for the future. He's able to execute, but if they get into a shootout, you're losing. I truly believe that, especially with a good team that's got competent corners. I think that they're just going to eat Ridder to pieces. Offensive line leaves something to be desired. Defense is meh, but the division obviously sucks with my Panthers being in it. Bucks aren't doing too bad, but I think obviously we're going to see one of these Cinderella stories end. I do not believe it's this week with the Falcons. I think that they can absolutely come out here and win it by keeping the ball out of Jared Goff. I'm on Ross St. Brown's hands and Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, who's going to have to be the lead back this week. So everybody that drafted Jahmyr Gibbs really high, this is your week to finally see if he's worth it. And yeah, I mean, I didn't go big on Jahmyr Gibbs this year. The over being 46 is real interesting. It's essentially equated to 23-23. Their defenses are both suck. So I can absolutely see this being a high-scoring affair. I'll probably also take the over here. Detroit giving 3 doesn't really leave a lot to be desired. I do think the Lions are essentially running away with this division at this point, unless the Packers somehow can keep this offensive firepower up. But this is going to be a big barometer game for both games. How do the Falcons compare to the defense of the Lions? Are they still able to effectively run the ball? Are they able to keep the ball in Jared Goff's hands and not on the ground or in the defender's hands? And same thing with the Falcons. Do they really commit to that 40-plus carries between those two backs and really keep the ball relatively limited in Ritter's hands? Going to be very telling in this game. So, yeah, I'm going to take the over in this one as well. And now, how I normally do it is 3 games at a time. This third game that'll be on this ticket is Saints-Packers. Real interesting one. Saints. I really thought you guys were for real last week. I took Derek Carr over on passing yards. I thought he was going to really throw the ball out there. Really didn't. And that's surprising with Jamal out and Kamara. I think now you really have to commit to the passing game because your run game is so depleted. I think they will obviously do quite a bit. The line being only 1 for Green Bay isn't the greatest, and over-under being 42.5. This is another one that, again, I'm probably going to take the over because I just think that offenses are the way to go now. Defenses on both sides. I actually really like the Saints defense, but I think the Packers, Jordan Love, is really showing us that he can play. That being said, Chris Olave and Michael Thomas are just a match made in heaven. If you got a third rookie wide receiver in there, you would be in business. I keep thinking of college phenoms like Olave was, and always go back to like Mims or somebody like that that would be available. So think about that. Now, the wide receiver core on the Packers side is like, who the hell are they? I'm sorry, not a Packers dude. Never been, never going to be. But man, am I loving Love? I'm not saying I'm loving him. We're in the like stage right now. Give me 2 or 3 more games, and I'll be able to tell you what's going on in this relationship between me and Jordan Love. But for this game, I will take an alternate spread most likely for any other bets. But for this one, I'm only going to go with the over. I don't think that either defenses leave anything to be desired. I think both run defense or both running games are great when they're working, but obviously one of them isn't even healthy right now in the Saints. Yeah, that one, I'm just going to make this one nice and easy. It's going to be the over for me. So Titans, Browns, Falcons, Lions, Saints, Packers. I'm going to take the over in all 3 and then just pray that everybody actually shows up. But yeah, next one's going to be a blowout. Miami getting 6.5. Sorry if I jumped that a little crazy. Miami getting 6.5, over under 47.5. Broncos coming after a devastating loss. I'm actually out here in Colorado. Went to a dear friend of mine's house. Was able to watch the game. Shout out to Wayne and Jay. What a game. We were literally sitting there just like dumbfounded at the Commanders' comeback. The offense became very anemic after the first half. I think that was more of like the more scripted half, and then they made adjustments in the second half, and Russell Wilson never made another adjustment. This is the deciding game in my mind for Sean Payton on Russell Wilson. If he comes out here and just stinks it up in a game where he knows that the only way they win this game is that Russell Wilson actually takes over and elevates them, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that Tua is going to absolutely maul them with Waddle and Hill. The run game is also starting to get it up. Jalen Ramsey's going to be back soon. That this team is on its way up. But again, it's only limited by Tua's health. That's what everyone's going to say. I truly believe that it's only limited by his health. I think even with just a Hill or just a Waddle, they could really, really, really make a playoff run. 47.5, I'll take it. I'll take the over. I think it's going to be a good one. 6.5 on Miami, I might take that one too. The crazy ones, the 10.5s, the 12s, those are the ones that scare me. But 6.5, not too bad. For this one, I'm going to take 6.5 on the Dolphins. I think they just maul the Broncos. It's not even close. I think it's going to be closer to a San Francisco Giants score. And then we're going to move on to the game that I'm going to have my boy on for tomorrow's podcast, hopefully. The Chargers-Vikings game. Shout out my friend Mike. Chargers. Now, the rumor is that this is the game on if you guys are going to fire Staley or not. Now, that's not good for Staley. And I think this is also the game that the Vikings are making the decision on. Are we trading Kirk Cousins and getting rid of the season being down 0-3? Or is this where we go, we're 1-2, and now we could really start to put it into high gear now that we got Cam Akers? Over under 54, Minnesota over a point. I'm going to probably take Minnesota. Any plus points I can get. 54, I'll probably still take the over because I think this is going to be a very high-powered offense on both sides, and both defenses just can't hang. It seems like they always give it up. I could see the Chargers winning this, though. Herbert, I'm a little biased. Just in case you don't know, Roll Coverage does 50 fantasy leagues. So I got Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen in quite a few of them. So I'm a little biased there. I would love for them to go off and this to be like a 50-50 game. But I just think that Addison and Justin Jefferson really get it done. If they don't, if they don't, oh my God. If they don't, could we see them trade Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins? Imagine those two headed to the Jets. Again, I put out a crazy trade that would basically reunite the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, and Jay Jettas in New York with the Jets, and then them essentially shipping away probably 2 first-round picks this year's and next year's. And then they'd probably have to give up another wide receiver, so they'd probably have to give up like Garrett Wilson. So then you have Garrett Wilson and Jordan Addison in Minnesota, which I think would do really well. I just don't think that Garrett Wilson's going to be a part of it. It'd have to be some other pieces or a defensive piece. But yeah, this game can go either way. Like I said, I'm going to lean more Vikings, but I would also love to see the storyline of what happens to Kirk Cousins if they do go down 0-3. So again, for this one, I'm going to take any plus points I can get from Minnesota. If I'm going off this, I'm just going to go for the over of 54. It's going to be a barn burner, I hope. And then obviously the next one, the one that everybody's looking at, Jets Patriots. This was obviously circled on the calendar for Rodgers. He wanted to go in there and really give it to Bill Belichick, but I think it's going to be the other way around. I think this is where the Patriots get their first win of the year. They're obviously down 0-2. Their line is currently New England given 2.5. I would absolutely take that 2.5. I think that Zach Wilson is going to start seeing ghosts like a lot of people think, and it's going to be bad. Could we see Mike White or somebody in there? Possibly. But if this is where the Jets go 1-2, do they absolutely make a jump for a quarterback? I could see them doing that, yeah. But what's going to go on with that whole contract with Rodgers? They're going to have to make the money work, even though they're bringing in somebody else. Again, if you're a Jets fan, you should be pounding the table, like I've said, for Jameis Winston. That's just my opinion. I think he can come in there and execute just like any other quarterback. He'd be able to learn the playbook quickly, and I think he can come out there and do it. He's not going to throw a ton of picks because you guys aren't going to ask him to do that with Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook there. So just something to think about. Patriots side of the ball, though, wide receiver core leaves a lot to be desired. Defense looks really well, though. And then obviously Mac Jones, Alabama back. Shout out Kevin Wilds. I think, he's going to come out there and throw, at least 2 touchdowns, preferably 3, few hundred yards, and then you get out of there with a dub against the Jets. Over under 36. That's a tough one. I'd probably say under. My first under of the week. I'm going to go with that, or I'd take the 2.5 on the Patriots side. And then obviously another one from their division, Bills, going and playing the 2-0 Commanders. They should shellac this team. Bills should come in there and murder them. Current line is at Buffalo's 6, over under 42.5. I do not believe that Buffalo's defense is, really to. Excuse me. My throat needs some coffee. But I think that this is something that the Bills should win. Stephon Diggs, controversy is still real. The controversy of Josh Allen not being able to protect the ball is going to remain a problem. If the Commanders come in there and beat the Bills are in trouble. Being Buffalo by 6, or giving 6, 42.5 over under, I'll probably take the over as well. I think Commanders can go out there. Again, I do not believe in the Bills' defense. I've long said that there's a crazy trade out there. Now, it would absolutely shake the NFL and possibly help out one team more than the other, but I think it would really benefit both teams. That trade is swapping Herbert for Allen. Now, I know that sounds crazy. Herbert, for the most part, can really execute, get the ball out. He's better with a running back, which you guys have a great running back room right now. I think that he would be safer with the ball in Buffalo and everything like that. The Chargers would get a dude that could go out there and win the games. They're losing to like Miami on last-second field goals. That's not going to be Josh Allen with that. I think you guys have a pretty decent wide receiver core with Allen, Williams. The dude you just got in the draft, I cannot remember his name. I'm so sorry. But he looks great. I think it's Palmer. I think that he could do really well with that. Obviously, get him another wide receiver 1 if you can, or get him an extra piece. I don't think Mike Williams is him, nor Allen, even though they both do really well. I just don't think that that's the wide receiver he needs. So obviously you could make some additions there, but I think if you were to take Josh Allen and put him on the Chargers, they would win more games. And I think if you were to take the Chargers quarterback, Justin Herbert, and put him on this Bills team, the Bills team wins 11 games, 12 games. Obviously, he also gets rid of Staley, so that's a whole separate thing. But Sam Howell has looked good. Not great. There's a bunch of people I've been conversing with on Twitter about the Commanders. I think that your offense has the potential to be amazing, especially with Dotson and McLaurin. I love Brian Robinson Jr. and oh my gosh, Gibson. I love what you guys are building there. Defense, Chase Young is going to have to get paid if you guys decide not to trade him. I could absolutely see you guys doing a trade with a few different teams. I've even thought about him going to my Panthers because there's been a rumor that Burns might get traded, so swap Burns for Young. But for this one, 42.5, I'm definitely going to take the over. I think this is just going to be it's going to be everywhere. Ball's going to be thrown all over. It's going to be a great game. So yeah. Next one, Texans Jaguars. I'm so sad about this, but I'm also happy. So there's going to be a little bit of angel and devil on my shoulder. Oops. Devil on the shoulder first. I really thought T-Law would be able to make a drastic jump this year. I really thought that going into technically year 3, but in my mind year 2, because the Urban Meyer stink is finally gone. But he's really not. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I expected more. He is the prince who was promised, so he was supposed to be the next thing. It's the hype that's killing me. The hype is there. Calvin Ridley's there, who is playing out of his mind. ETN doesn't look too bad. Tank Bigsby back there. Defense has got some people on it, but I don't know what he's doing, man. I really expected a little bit more from T-Law up to this point. Other side of the ball, though, my little happy one, I believe in Stroud. I think that Stroud is already better than Justin Fields. You can at me all you want. It's just my opinion. I think that he's already progressing a lot quicker. I think that Nico Collins was the real deal. I went big on him in fantasy. A lot of people didn't believe in him. I told people he was going to be that dude. Nico Collins, shout out. from roll coverage right here. For this one, line is Jaguars winning by 8. I'm taking the. I don't care. I'm gonna end this right now. Texans +8. I'm taking it. Let's go. Next one, Colts Ravens. Real interesting one. So at the beginning, we started with Richardson being hurt. If you looked at the injury report for the Ravens, it's like OBJ, their center, their guard. I think they're missing like 2 or 3 other people. Like, they are really injured. Colts are missing Anthony Richardson. I think this could be a real interesting one. I think this could be a trap game for Baltimore. If I could get the line anything over 8 where it's currently sitting, I would take +10, +10.5 or whatever with the Colts. I think they'll be able to keep it close. Most teams don't get blown out. Niners, Cowboys are going to make exceptions of that quite a bit to some teams. But I think there's going to be a lot closer than people are comfortable with, and I think it'll bring a lot of questions to a 3-0 Ravens team, because I do believe that Baltimore will still win. Over under 44, I'll probably take the over as well. Minshew just needs to not give the game away. I really wish they still had Sam Ehlinger. I really liked him. Even Jacob Eason, I thought he could have been interesting, but he just never flushed out. Thank God I never picked him to win anything in the NFL. But yeah, for this one, I'll take the +8 on the Colts. I think they'll at least be able to keep it close. If you need to take the over and under, I would take the over. Now we're going to get to mine. Hopefully you didn't hear the pain in my voice right there, but my Carolina Panthers. First of all, we've got to address the elephant in the room, and that is Bryce Young is out 1 to 2 weeks. So he's out this game. I forget who we play next week, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be a loss. We won't come out of the bye with a win, in my opinion. I think only after the bye we might be able to sneak a win or two, but we'll see. A lot of people are going hard on the Seahawks, and that normally means that the other team is going to win. And I don't mean specifically the Seahawks. I didn't mean to frame it like that. Most of the time when all the analysts pick the same team and it's like 99% one way, it's normally an upset for the other side unless it's Alabama playing Georgia Southern or something stupid. So I think this could be a trap game for the Seahawks. But Seahawks defense plays well. They're really able to run the ball with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet and everybody. Wide receiver core is stacked, in my opinion, up there for wide receiver cores. Probably top 5 with Metcalf, Lockett, and Smith-Njigba. I don't see how you guys don't win this game, especially with us playing the Red Rifle. Now, the Red Rifle, I now hate as a Panthers fan. I'm going to use that word with quotations, okay? I hate him. I hate that we brought him into the game to do a sneak. It's literally the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in football. If we're not believing in Bryce Young to get 2 yards, then what did we draft him for? I'm sorry. Were we subbing out Drew Brees in his prime of doing that? Were we subbing out Peyton Manning and being like, hey, let's put in a different quarterback? Now, I understand people can say the size, and I made the semi-foolish comparison to say I wish we did more like Jalen Hurts. Okay, I understand that Jalen Hurts can squat 600-plus pounds, and that sneak is really based on him, and I understand that. We could develop something like that for Bryce Young. It was the low light of my Panthers fandom so far, and I've been a fan since we got shellacked in the Super Bowl. I'm previously from Florida, so I was previously a Bucs fan. Raiders the year, but we were getting ready to go to the Super Bowl. I obviously jumped ship. I'm also a Duke fan. I'm a big Charlotte Hornets fan. Even a Charlotte Sting fan. I hope we actually bring that team back. Shout out WNBA. But ever since then, I have enjoyed my time as a Panthers fan. But this was the first time where I was truly upset to be a Panthers fan. A lot of people called for us to win 8-10 games. I told them that they were smoking the good if they thought that. And I truly believe that we will not come out of the bye with a win. If we end up trapping Seattle here and getting this win, I'll be upset because at this point we should have the number 1 pick. But instead, it's going to be Chicago getting the number 1 pick. So I think at this point, everyone thinks it's the Cardinals, but it's probably us. And again, shout out to you Bears fans. You guys might have 2 top 5 picks because of us. But now we're going to move on to your game because with this one, I'm going to take Seattle money line. I'll take any plus points I can get on Seattle over 42. I could see it happening. I could see the Seahawks putting up 27 and us putting up 17 and really, getting this one over. But I'm just going to take Seattle money line on this just to kind of stay away from it. If I decide to bet it, I normally don't bet on the Panthers. It's just a personal rule of mine. But yeah, the Bears Chiefs though. Again, I would take the Chiefs money line. Don't even play with this one. It's not a trap game. Justin Fields is not developing the way he should have been. Obviously, they just lost their DC, which was kind of crazy. Apparently, they got $100,000 of stuff stolen from their stadium. What is it? One of their people got arrested. It's an all out barn burner for the Bears, and it doesn't bode well for Fields' development. With that being said, I think that now we're just going to see him kind of opened up more. So this could be a really, close one. KC plus 12 are given 12.5. I would take the Bears plus 12.5 to at least keep it interesting. Mahomes, 531 yards so far, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I could see this defense stealing an interception and keeping this game pretty close, especially because it feels like the Chiefs' offense is anemic at best. So that's just my personal opinion. Again, I'm gonna make this one easy. I'm sorry. I'm going to root with you Bears fans to this week. I'm going to take the plus 12.5. If I can get it any higher, I'll take it as well. I think you guys will at least keep it close. I don't think the Chiefs are going to throttle you guys this week. They've struggled already. Next one, though, not going to be a struggle. I think the Cardinals will play well. They're going to run the ball, but that's Dallas's MO is to stop that. Dallas winning by 12.5 could absolutely see it. Over being 43 could absolutely see it. Especially with Trevon Diggs out. I feel bad for all the Cowboys fans because I really had you guys competing for Super Bowl this year, but with him being out, I don't know. I just don't know. Just on me. But regardless, I'll take Cowboys money line. I won't mess with the over/under because again, it could be a shellacking or it could be nothing. And it's really going to depend on how Dobbs can push the ball down the field with the Cardinals because they're not going to be able to get a crazy run going. Against the Cowboys. That's just my opinion. Next one, Steelers Raiders. Raiders giving 2.5 over under 43. Steelers again another anemic offense. Kenny the Ticket Pickett, as I have called him, played well, or I should say played good, not well. He played good. George Pickens is wide receiver 1. With the injury, but regardless, he's wide receiver 1, just like I told everybody going into the season that he was going to be their wide receiver 1. Running game, Najee Harris, people are questioning him now, talking about might want to put the backup in. I don't think that's the option. I think the option is to start doing what a lot of other teams are doing, put both backs out there, run the ball more, take time off the clock, and really just grind them down. Your defense is amazing. Let them rest. Because if you keep doing these 3 and outs like you guys were doing, it's going to really tax that defense, and that's not what you want to do so early in the season. Raiders, I think that you guys should do some sort of trade here soon. I thought you guys were going to go with Aiden O'Connell or whatever his name is, and ship Jimmy G out of there. That might still happen, especially if you guys go down 1-2, 1-3, something like that. So look out for that. Obviously, I love Devontae Adams, but I think that he will be traded at some point to a more successful franchise. Again, a crazy trade that we did the other day when we were messing around was Diggs for Tay. I think it could work, could refresh them both. And then obviously give Devontae Adams the access he needs to Josh Allen. So could go from Aaron Rodgers to Josh Allen. Could be real interesting. This one I'm going to kind of avoid. I don't think it's either way. I think the Steelers will probably come out with the win, but it all depends on if, again, Kenny can punch their ticket to move forwards. So again, for this one, I'm just going to avoid unless I get plus more than like 4.5 points for the Steelers. So yeah, and then the final 2, Eagles, Bucks, Rams, Bengals. I've got a lot to say about both of these teams. Eagles. First of all, I think it's really interesting that you guys are going to a run-first offense, especially with Brown and Devontae Smith there. I really expected Jalen to really start throwing the ball downfield more, really open it up, and I expect you guys to uncork a few people. That might be this week. But on the other side of the ball, the Bucks can do the same thing with Evans, with Godwin, and that defense can really hold you guys down. So I think this is a really interesting one. Philly is giving 5 points, so they're at least saying they're going to keep it close. Again, another one I'd probably avoid because I think it could be an absolute slog because both defenses could really dig in, especially the secondary of the Eagles. I'll probably just take the Eagles money line if I do this one. That's just my opinion. Baker's really showing us that he can make it in the league, so I think he's going to be the Bucs starter for probably a few years. As long as he can protect the ball. So far, though, 490 yards, 3 touchdowns. Real interesting week. Again, I'll just take Philly money line. If I can get more than 8 points for the Bucs, I would take that as well. But for what I'm looking at right now, I would just take Philly money line. And then the one that I'm really, really interested in is the Bengals Rams. Now, the reason why I say that is because it's a tale of two cities. Great book if you haven't read it as well. But the tale of two cities is this. I'm going to start with the Bengals. Bengals have arguably the number one receiving core in the league, especially on paper. Boyd, Higgins, Jamar Chase, just ridiculous. Running back room, Mixon, great. Last year they had P. Ryan. I forget who their backup running back is this year. I apologize. But it's just a really interesting team, and it's all held together by Joe Burrow, also known as Joe Burrow. I think that this team is so dependent on Joe Burrow to deliver the ball that even when they do bring in another quarterback, which they just got a third quarterback added, I just don't think that they have it. The line right now is Cincinnati by 3. I would probably take the over. In fact, I would say take the over, 43.5, so 44 or more. And the only way that doesn't hit is if the Bengals truly just fall to pieces. I think Mixon can keep them in the game. Jamar, T, Boyd. I think there's so much potential, but it's just missing that healthy quarterback, which I don't think Burrow's going to stay at all this year. I think the season's shot. He will not even make the playoffs. That's my bet right now with the Bengals. When it comes to the Rams, real interesting that you guys snuck in a win. I think you're going to get the win here. I'll take any plus points I can get for you over 3.5. Right now it's sitting at 3, so I just probably avoid this one and just do the over. Stafford looks like Stafford. Terrible. I'm sorry. He did a lot in Detroit, but if he was an all-pro every year, it'd be a different story. Didn't win any MVPs or nothing. So I just don't think he's the solution for the Rams anymore. I think that they were originally planning on going to Stetson Bennett, to be honest with you, and trading Stafford. I could absolutely see them still trading Stafford. I could see them marketing Cooper Kupp, especially with the acquisition and shining light of Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua. They just traded away Cam Akers. So you're going to go with your backup running back, who I cannot remember his name right now. I wanted to call him Kyron Williams, but I'm pretty sure that's the Chargers. Regardless, their backup running back is now the dude in L.A. Rumor from what I saw, I don't know the validity, so please take this with a grain of salt. But apparently he traded him out because he might have wanted to sleep with McVay's wife. I still need to do some verification, so if you find it out there, didn't come from me. But yeah, it's just going to be a real interesting one. Like I said, I'll take the plus points for the Rams. So yeah, that's our picks for the week. This is roll coverage. We're going to go and enjoy the rest of the day. It is Friday. It is 2:45 out here in Colorado while I'm recording this. Going to go enjoy a beautiful hike, hopefully. Go do something other than drink coffee inside. But anyways, we look forward to you. We appreciate everybody out there. Want to become involved with roll coverage. I'm always looking for people to assist in it. Obviously, trying to compensate people as well as best we can. So if you need anything, we've got all the information below. Yeah, hopefully everybody just has a great rest of the weekend. Hopefully these games go crazy. If you're going to watch the Colorado game this weekend, I definitely took Colorado plus 21. I just think they're going to keep it close. That's just me. Shadura is still out there regardless of Travis Hunter. So yeah, everybody enjoy it. I will see you guys on Monday. Peace.